All right, everyone. This time we are trying something new. So this is a recorded session, primarily because last time I had audio issues and I want to test the setup before going live. And it's also like a local recording setup, which is like a pretty cool way to record these days. It's not that you stream your video stuff to the server and the server, there's already some compression and fidelity lost. Instead, you record locally. So I record locally now, and supposedly the video and audio quality should be much better. So who knows? Let's try. So this is capacitor sessions number 6, I think, and there's a few things happened recently. One of them is we cut a few release candidates since the last recording. We also have some unreleased commits at the moment. We got some nice stars, so thank you very much if you have started the repo. 85 is an amazing number, so we are already through the roof. And we have some issues that I want to address today. There were some good recommendations around installation of capacitor. So like, let's include an ingress, let's include some basic auth, maybe auth as well in the examples, so people don't have to come up with that themselves. Pretty cool. And also, people from the Flux projects recommended that, hey, doing a Helm install from the CLI is not the most fluxed way ever out there. And actually, we got a pretty cool pull request from Stefan Prodan, one of the key contributors of Flux. So thank you very much. And he actually contributed this OCIrepository-based, fully Flux first installation method for capacitor. And he also reported a few bugs. So I actually want to address. Maybe I'm going to start with his PR first and try to install capacitor through an OCI repository onto a local cluster. And then he reported that Flux OCI repositories are not supported in capacitor. That's a fact. So I'm going to do like a quick, support for OCI repositories, and probably I'm going to get into some installation YAML stuff as well. But first things first, I have my cluster, and yeah, so there are 2 unreleased commits of capacitor here, and then Stefan's PR. So maybe I'm just gonna check this cluster I have. It probably has capacitor on it. I think I'm gonna remove that. So I think it's installed by Helm. So in the infrastructure namespace, yeah, I have capacitor there. So I just gonna do a Helm uninstall or remove capacitor from the infra namespace. Good, it is uninstalled. Yeah, and what about the pods? Yeah, so I think capacitor is gone. Indeed. Not indeed. This is something else. This is in the default namespace. There's a capacitor. There are capacitors everywhere in this cluster, apparently. Deploy, svc, config map. Yeah, this is most likely one Kubernetes manifest-based install. So how about I go and service account deleted, cluster role deleted, role binding deleted. What about this? Yeah, maybe in here. The namespace is set to infrastructure. Yeah, it is. So this must be some very old capacitor. Regardless, I want to clean things up. Oh, what did I do? I want to clean things up. So namespace. I replace the namespace just to be able to delete stuff. Goodie. All right. Amazing. And revert this change immediately. Good. So I have an empty cluster, and let's look at Stefan's PR. So basically, he says that this is how we push to an OCI registry, which is GitHub's package registry. And this is what he's recommending into the README. Deploy the latest capacitor release into the Flux system namespace. Fair enough. He just gave us the double thumbs up approval that capacitor is allowed in the Flux system namespace. This is pretty cool, if you ask me. So from here on, we are going to release, or we are going to deploy to Flux system, people. That's amazing. So this is an OCI repository, which points to my, or Gimlet's GitHub container registry. If you look this up, and go to Gimlet packages and capacitor. This is something Flux pushed. So capacitor manifests. This is the RC4 release manifests are part of it. And I have no idea what's inside this. So what if I pull this image? I'm just curious. I don't know how OCI artifacts really work. So this is just a side quest, probably a side quest of a side quest. But what happens here? It was quick. Unsupported media type application CNCF Flux config JSON. No idea, but Docker images grab capacitor. Capacitor manifest. No. So obviously this is some different MIME type or different OCI type, and that's why it's not part of my Docker images. Okay. How can I read this? OCI artifact read. Viewing OCI artifacts. I am learning. This is great. Go away. So this is media type. That's what we saw. But can I just download it and look at it? Yeah, Docker manifests. Okay, but can I just have a CLI command that is pulling it down and showing it? Flux artifact was the comment. No, flux. There was push. I remember push artifact. Maybe there is flux get. No. Yeah, it pushes an artifact, yes, but... And it does all the work related to that, but how does an OCI artifact look? Never mind. If this would be a live stream, people would tell me that by now, but it is not. So where was I? I was at the OCIRepository, and then a customization, which is basically pointing at the OCIRepository and applies the root. And Stefan says that every 12 hours it goes out and releases stuff. Fair enough. But why 12 hours? I don't know. Maybe it's just because of the source is refreshed every 12 hours. That's fair. So if I do this, let's create a dummy folder. Okay, if I apply this, there will be a capacitor. Let's try it. K-apply deploy /OCI. How do I get like OCI repositories? Okay, this is the OCI repository. It pulled down the artifact. Maybe I can see the artifact finally from here. Oh. Yeah, this is some metadata. And what if I get it? OCI repository spec status artifact metadata. These are the things from the artifact. It's a path. So there's a tar file, okay, for the full source. That makes sense. Okay. Anyways, I still don't see the full artifact, but that's all right. Okay, and then I get customizations. And I have capacitor in flux system. So if I go to kubernetes flux system, get pods, I have capacitor running. Good stuff. So the installation method works. And then if I do the port forward and go to here, it's broken because I don't support, or capacitor does not support OCI repositories. So this is what we are going to fix, but interesting nevertheless. Yeah, here it says Git repositories. So we're gonna go abstract. So let's pull up VS Code. And let's start capacitor. So I have capacitor up and running. And if I go back to the page, I see the problem again, which is related to OCI repos. I also saw some logs, which I should just remove right now because I was trying to measure some performance thingies, and apparently I just left them here. So let's remove these measurements. All right. So let's also fire up a development server for React. And here is the issue. All right. Customization JSX81. Yeah. So this is the revision widget, which is used on the service cards and also in the footer. So I think this is used in two places. Yeah, it's on the customization. It gets a customization and the Git repository. And the Git repository is probably undefined here. Or I'm actually not sure how does it show up when it is an OCI repository, because it looks at the customization, I think. Why do we call it item? Maybe, yeah, I don't know. But if we look at Stefan's README, this is a customization with a source ref, spec source ref. That should be here, like spec source ref. Ah, I see, because then we are looking into the Git repositories array, and we try to find this source ref, which is just not of type Git repository. So just to make sure that this is actually there, let's print all these. And why is it not shown? Am I looking at the right instance? Is it like running on port what? Port 3000. Okay, yeah, because of this, so it is also shown from here. So the Git repository is this Git repository, which is an input for the service. Why is it not finding all the references? Oh, come on. Yeah, because it's used in JSX, right? Okay. So this is where Git repository comes from. And yeah, if we put here console log and customization spec source ref, we're gonna see the name of the source in logs. Yeah. And then we have the capacitor customization, which then explodes. All right, so where do sources come from? They come from the backend. We have flux state handler, which returns a bunch of flux things. We have Git repositories, customizations, ham releases. I wonder if there is an abstract way to get all sources. Maybe I'm just going to go bare bones, and I'm going to look for OCI repositories. Get all of them. And Stefan was saying that there are also buckets. So maybe S3 buckets are also a source type in Flux. Source API reference. V1. Git repository spec. Source. Yeah, Git repositories, OCI repositories, and buckets. This is interesting. You can put stuff in a bucket and Flux is going to handle it. That's pretty neat. So OCI repositories. Yeah, let's just get all OCI repositories. And the API for that is source blah blah blah, and the kind is this. So oh, sorry, maybe like this, I hope. And then let's handle buckets as well. I am acting like a good junior developer. I copy what I see, not thinking just yet. Buckets. Okay, dokie. All namespaces, good stuff. Oh, and then there is, okay. And then we're going to add it to flux state. FluxCD, flux state needs these two new fields. Okay, what's wrong with them? Not defined. Huh. Maybe it's not a V1 thing, just a beta thing. Source V1, source controller V1. Yeah, it's beta, and this one is also beta. This one is V1. Fair enough. We like API versioning. Like this. What's wrong? Please import them. Uh-oh. Okay. Are we good now? OCIRepository. Good. Bucket. Good. Let's go back. Repository. Bucket. And then again, this is beta 2. Ah, come on. Beta 2. Beta 2. Hallelujah. And then here we're gonna translate, or no, actually, yeah. I don't know what this returns. Maybe, yeah, it's just maybe returns a list, and then I have to add it one by one. From unstructured. All right. And just to follow the order of the fields, first we handle OCI, like Git repositories. Then we handle OCI repositories. And last, we're going to handle buckets. All right. And copy or get the unstructured stuff from the Kubernetes API. And this is buckets, and this is buckets, and this is buckets. Yes. Now we have a backend for these special type of sources. So if I restart, maybe I'm also gonna need this in the RBAC when I'm going to deploy. So no, actually no, because it's part of source, the source API group. So that's cool. Or maybe no, I need to do this. Okie dokie. Now I have access to get, watch, and list. All right, so it's running. And if I refresh this and look at the network tab, a big 500 is waiting for me. And where exactly is that? Okay, OCI repositories. Probably I made a mistake in this. So the resource is something else. Actually, I want to do the order the same way as with other places. So just shuffle things. Ah, this is not V1. V1 beta 2. V1 beta 2. Good. All right. And if I refresh and let it just fly, it should return the flux state where I will see OCI repositories. I have the single OCI repository and 0 buckets. That's it. Good. So we have a backend. And let's look at the front end of things. And this is where my code, which is not abstract enough, gonna fall short, but let's see what I can do about it. So this is services, service. So actually, this should not be called Git repository. So when I get the customization and I look for the source ref, we just simply should just call it source, because that's the abstract thing we are trying to get. And we need to find it. Source ref has a type. So again, if I go back to Stefan's code, source ref has a kind. So based on the kind, I should do some clever things, some utility function for now. Function find source. This will be source ref. And I also need all the sources. And I should return the source. So this is actually not bad, but I don't know whether I should lump all the source stuff into a sources array and then handle types like all the time. Probably yes. So instead of doing 3 different source types here, I should just have one sources array, and then I would do ifs all the time. Yeah, I will not do that for now. I know I'm making the wrong choice here, but still. I know this is dumb because sources have this meta. No, not meta, but yeah, no, everything has API version and kind. So maybe I could use that as like a Kubernetes style programming, but honestly, I'm too dumb for that. So maybe I'm just going to repeat myself for now. Please refactor my code if you want to. I'm going to refactor my own shit later on when I'm annoyed with myself. So if source ref dot kind equals OCI repository, and this is JavaScript, so let's add the parentheses, then return this find Actually, I'm gonna have flux state here. Flux state dot OCI repository is find. What's G? That's O. Or you know what? Let's do R as in resource. Okay. Actually, if this would be just one array, I could skip this and just have like one big metadata dot kind equals sourceref dot kind. Jesus, I'm gonna drive myself crazy, but I'm gonna do it like that. So let's not do the ifs. Instead, I'm gonna return always sources.find resource metadata equals blah, and kind equals kind, and sourceref should be just sourceref. Okay, this is not too bad. And here I will use find source, where I will feed in sourceref, and I'm going to construct the sources array. So maybe I'm going to do, thank God I can do typeless stuff in JavaScript. No TypeScript for me, sorry. So var sources array, how do I do that in JavaScript? Yeah, like this. Can I even use const? Not roots, sources. Sources, and I'm gonna feed in sources.push. I'm gonna push in flux state dot OCI OCI repositories spread. It's probably Golang. Yeah. I'm just testing. Yeah, this is ugly, but this is how I'm gonna get started. Git repositories, then buckets, and I'm gonna console log sources, and I'm gonna console log source. This is when a manager codes, guys. Services.js. Yeah, and instead of that, I'm gonna feed in source. So what do I have? Nothing. Services.js 15. Why is this an error now and it hasn't been before? I mean, I understand, but maybe I don't understand. Ham releases is undefined. Whatever, I have my things, what I wanted to see. So this is an array with 3 arrays. So I actually need to push all. Spread operator. I want to do spread. Yes. How do I do spread? Dots first. Why am I getting these errors? This is odd. This has never been undefined, and now it is. Anyway, so this is the array I wanted to see with an OCI repository and 2 Git repositories. Okay. With the kind and API version. So, and then once actually, if I'm just going to do something like this, if customizations, if not customizations, this is what this function is doing anyway, so what the hell, I don't care right now. And what about finding the source? Yeah, this was undefined, which was odd because metadata kind and source ref kind should be equal, and then metadata name and source ref name should be equal. And I believe that's happening, but still. So let's print source ref, let's print sources, and then the source that we found. Customization is undefined. But why? Something is in the cluster without a customization, or what is the service? Deployment, notification controller. Okay, and then deployment, notification controller, and then it's undefined. So the notification controller in my cluster is not part of customizations. I don't believe that. flux state is like nothing, just an empty object. How come? Something is fundamentally wrong. Yeah, first it's an empty array, that's fair. And then this is services, and this is flux state. Okay, so we have services sooner than flux state. So maybe we have a race condition, which can happen. So actually, what we should do, we should not render services as long as we don't have a flux state. So if flux state dot customizations is undefined, we return null, or later a loader. So maybe this solves my issue. Okay, I think that was the issue, a stupid race condition that we haven't seen yet. So it's good that we work with this. All right, so now removing a bunch of this. Yeah, we have a flux state, who cares? Yeah, we have a service. And back to the source question. Each repository is the source. No, that's the selector, like the source ref. Kind equals name. Object kind. So it's not metadata.kind, it's just simply kind. So in the find source, we're gonna compare the resources kind with source refs kind. And then the name with, yeah, good. Getting there. So we have sources extracted from this combined array of various source types. So I probably going to move this to the backend, but so far this was a good experiment. Okay. And let's find capacitor actually, whose source is this special kind. It's the flux system capacitor. And yeah, this is actually breaking because we haven't done the implementation there yet. Okay, but it's not terrible. So this is where we find things once, and this is actually a source and not a Git repository. So let's get into the service. This is called the source, and where Git repositories were referenced. I'm not sure yet. So first of all, in the revision widget, we're gonna send in source, and we're gonna send in source. Okay. Where else? No other place. Good. And now we're going to get into the revision widget. Let's go there, which has props. And where does Git repository? We're gonna get source from the props, and wherever we mention Git repository, we are going to mention source. But then, OCIrepository's spec is different from Git repository's spec. So here we need to do some gymnastics. So this is, what is this? Revision widget. And we just use the URL because it was assuming it's Git. All right. So if source dot kind equals again, I'm just going to start with ifs, and obviously my code is going to get better when I can remove all these ifs because I know a good abstraction for this. So far, I'm going to say that this is going to be just saying OCIrepository. No idea what that is. Uh-oh. And if this is going to be bucket, then hey, this is a bucket. It's a large to-do, and this is also a to-do. Good. And otherwise, we're going to return as we usually do. This is going to be source spec URL. Yeah, for now. Okay. And customization JSX has a bunch of references still. 94. All right, here. This is one. 107. Yeah, actually, this can be generic. What else? All right. So what do we see here? This is an OCI repository type or source, so we need to implement that. But otherwise, everything renders normally. So here, I'm going to search for capacitor. Yeah, it's right there. Okay, so this is not that bad for now. But if I open this, things explode. Where did I do this? Here. So customization gets Git repositories. Okay. It's the same find stuff as it was in services. Yeah, I'm gonna replicate this for now. Do I have flux state? No. Instead of this, I'm gonna require a flux state. And I'm gonna, this find resource should be in a shared location. I said should be. And instead of Git repositories, I'm gonna use, yeah, this needs sources anyways, source anyways. And where else? Oh, just one place. Okie dokie. And then where is it used? Okay. And here, flux state. That's odd. This one, flux state, and this one, flux state. So flux state was already passed into this. Oh, how come I was not using it? No clue. But what happens now here? Customization is not defined in this 23. Yeah, because it's not customization, it's item. I am generic. I'm not sure why it's called item. So what's happening on the sources? I am showing only 2, and the third one is of different type. So let's look at that. Footer. So this should be called sources. We should get, actually it should get the flux state. So there is a, okay. It should be just a component called source. It's already an item, so I can just rename it maybe. Rename symbol source item, which is actually a source. Use effect, set highlight, blah, blah, blah. It's source metadata namespace, source metadata name, source metadata name. And here I'm feeding in the source artifact widget. All right, interesting. I think I'm going to do this only if source.kind equals git repository. All right, then do artifact widget In other cases, if it's an OCI repository, then just do a to-do. It's an OCI artifact. And if it's a bucket, all right. I think I'm gonna cut the recording here, but basically, I think we are on a good on a path to support all the 3 source types in Flux, which is cool. I need to generalize the code a bit, but largely it's just going through sources and based on kind, maybe render a different widget. Yeah, so this is not far away. So, but it actually works. So I'm going to finish this today, hopefully, and I'm going to skip these other issues from this recording. So this comes later, but I am keen to merge Stefan's PR, because then we're going to support more Flux stuff. And that's eventually what we want to do anyway. So let's just do it now. So thank you very much for watching. Take care.